Cheating story from a while back. Wanted to share a cheating story of my own from 2018. I 24M at the time and my girlfriend 21F at the time had been dating for almost 4 years. The relationship was great up until a few months prior to me finding out. My girlfriend would make excuses to spend time together. She would cry sometimes after we had time, which was really odd to me, and she got some sort of yeast infection as well. I had just recently introduced her to my high school friends. I didn't notice, but she started gravitating towards one guy, let's call him Aiden, I knew for over 10 years. She would laugh a lot with him, sit beside him. And one time she made the remark, I feel like my personality is a lot like Aiden's. I agreed. I guess you could call me being blind, but I didn't have any big reasons to assume the worst at that point. Another time I was going to pick up my girlfriend from her workplace in a mall. Just as I pulled in, I saw my Aiden coming out from the same mall and I asked him what he was doing there. He said he was checking out jackets, but now I know he was there to see her. We had planned a trip to go to Thailand in a few months. That's when another friend of mine, let's call him James, asked if we could chat sometime. James smoked Ed with Aiden frequently and he spilled the truth about him binging my girlfriend. James then approached me and told me it had been happening for several months. I was so furious and I literally drove to my girlfriend's house that moment. She was bussing from work and on her walk home I intercepted her. The conversation is one I'll never forget. I approached her and said, "Is there something you want to tell me?" She was pretty much shocked, silent and looked pale. Then I asked her, "You've been cheating on me with Aiden, haven't you?" Then she had the audacity to say, "How did you find out?" I felt like smacking her there, but I just walked away knowing that this girl wasn't the person I fell in love with and ended things right there. As for Aiden, a year ago he reached out and finally apologized. Now I'm happily married. Lessons learned: don't be naive to dismiss red flags and think your relationship is cheating proof. Think with your brain and not your dick. Partners can and will lie when they cheat. If you feel like your partner is cheating, don't ignore that feeling because they probably are. Redditor's reactions. Story 2 after. Redditor 1, congratulations on your now marriage. As heartbreaking as it is to be cheated on. Emo, I think it's the universe telling us that something better is out there for us. BTW, whatever happened to your ex lol? Op answer, last I heard as of a month ago, they've broken up. And in pictures she isn't nearly as hot as she used to be. She blocked me on all social media after I outed her to all our mutual friend groups. Redditor 2, I hope you kept in touch with James. A lot of friends wouldn't have said a word. Op answer, yup, James and I still hang out to this day. I really owe him a lot. We both have Shiba pups and we meet often for dog play dates. Redditor 3, we live and learn. At least you weren't a fool like me and stayed 20 plus years. I mean, we had kids, so a bit different, but at the same breath not really. Staying for the kids is the lamest ducking excuse. The kids truly rather have the split. Believe me, I asked. My kids and I are super close and they are in their 20s, so yeah. Glad you found your true person. Op answer, I can't imagine staying. Honestly, it would torment me all the time and I'm sure it did for you as well. I am thankful that I didn't end up marrying my ex. I'm sorry it happened to you too. Hope you are able to find your true person as well. Story 2, my cheating story. I hope I make this entertaining to read. I just want to help someone that might be going through being cheated on and to show them life can go on and will get better. To set the story up, I joined the Marine Corps in 2017 and had come home in 2018 for a big concert that happened every year in my area. Long story short, I made out with some girl in the crowd and got her number. We start texting and hang out the day before I fly back to California. Over the next half year we build a bond and start dating. I know probably shouldn't have dated someone I barely knew, but I was young and dumb. I end up coming home right before I go on a training deployment to Okinawa, a small Japanese island. We hung out the whole 2 weeks and have a great time with each other. Over the months we keep talking and I think I'm in love and am pretty much head over heels for this girl. Some Marines will probably make fun of me because this is the average stereotype for Marines. They get stupid and start saying they love some girl they barely know. But she seemed extremely genuine and innocent as could possibly be. Looking back, there were obvious story flaws in things she would tell me about her ex and about how he was abusive and would force her to do things she didn't want to. We'll get to that in a second. During my deployment, if you want to call it that, we continuously talk and call when we can, being that the hours are weird. During our time talking, there were things looking back on now that I realize were big red flags. But at the time thought nothing of it, being that I was very trusting. About 3 months before I come home, she starts saying things like she wants to erase social media because of how toxic it was and how much time it takes up in her day. No problem, it seemed completely understandable at the time. Then she says she's deleting Snapchat, which I thought was odd as it's more of a communication app. During the next couple months she starts talking to me less and less, to the point where it was usually to go a day without conversation. I would ask why this was and it would be the same excuse that she's just really busy with school and different things going on in her life. Eventually the time comes for me to fly back to the States. I spend a couple days in California before getting to go back to my home state. She continues telling me how much she can't wait to see me and misses me. Keep in mind she had visited my mom and dad's house several times while I was overseas. I fly home, and as soon as I turn my phone off airplane mode, she tells me she wants to break up. What? 5 hours ago I was sitting in an airport waiting to board reading I Can't Waits and I Love Yous. Now we're breaking up after a year. So over the next 2 days, stories begin to surface that she has a new boyfriend, and I'm pretty blindsided and angry but need proof. And to hear it from her. So I confront her. And she denies everything. Eventually she comes up with a story that her heart condition, I forgot to mention she has a hole in her heart, may not allow her to have kids, and she knew I had always wanted my own kids. But I assured her I loved her and we'd adopt and that I would do anything to make us work. Love isn't determined by DNA, and I've always been a firm believer in that. She says that she wants to give us a chance, and a few nights later we have second in her bed at her house. This is important later. The next night I go out with friends and run into ex of my buddies that happens to know my girlfriend's new man that apparently didn't exist according to my GF. Basically she unravels everything and tells me exactly what's going on with proof. I'm sad, I'm depressed. I wanted to hurt someone. All I really wanted was answered, and to find out what happened. This is where it gets weird. My ex had never deleted any of her social media like she claimed. She had blocked me and all my close friends and family, and basically started a new relationship and kept the game going with me for 3 months. Me and the friend of the guy that was my GF's new man decided we were going to tell him everything, so he knew he was getting lied to as well. He had no idea, and I don't blame him for anything. I had confronted her over text and got no closure or answered. I told her to stay away from my friends and family, and do not try to talk to me again, and that I will make sure everyone knows about this, and that her new man will also know about all the lies she's been telling to both of us. She said that if I told anyone she would get a restraining order against me. Like I didn't just tell her to stay away from me. One of her new man's friends tried to contact me basically saying that I was a lying abusive piece of shit and nobody believed me after she convinced them it wasn't true. Including new man's. I have never laid my hand on another woman before and I was dumbfounded that all these things were being said about me. The first person I thought to contact was the abusive ex and come to find out he told a very similar story to what happened to me. She had cheated on him multiple times and told stories about him being awful and abusive to other people just like she did me. From there I had nothing. No closure. No reasons. Nothing to understand why this happened. So I did the wrong thing and whiskeyed my way over it for the next 6 months. I was always trashed when I wasn't at work. Eventually I came to the conclusion that I did nothing wrong. She was just a bat-acid crazy BTCH, and had a history of doing this to men. A year after all this I met a cute little blonde lady at a bar and sat on the patio and talked to her all night till she left. She would go on to become my wife and she eventually introduced me to her 2-year-old daughter. We got married and had a child last year. And I couldn't be more grateful for what this woman has done for me. She has given me a beautiful son and a beautiful stepdaughter that I treat like my own. Dad is barely in the picture. She makes me feel like I deserve love and that I can be who I am and always supports and encourages me. I'm truly with someone I'm prepared to die next to all the way to the end and it's amazing. My point is I never had closure and I never had the answers I needed to cope. But life will go on and if someone does this to you then they truly aren't worth losing sleep over. Easier said than done I know. But if this is you right now just hang in there. I promise things will come around. It may be months. It may be years. But it won't always hurt this bad. I have not thought about my ex much till writing this post and I feel zero sadness or emotion because I would do it all 100 times again to gain the life I have now. Redditor's reactions, story 3 after. Redditor 1, can I suggest paragraphs? This lengthy word pile is pretty intimidating and very hard to follow. I gave up halfway. Answer. Apologies, I'm not much of a writer. Just figured I'd share to help someone out. Redditor 2, damn, great things worked out for you. Congrats on the fam. Redditor follow-up, you got through all that rambling. God bless you. You deserve a Medal of Freedom. Redditor 3, 17 Josborne, thanks for sharing your story. I'm glad that things worked out well for you. You deserve it. Story 3, my fault for her cheating. Relationship, background. My ex-girlfriend 19 and I 20 have dated for 5 years since high school and we have done lots of things and went to a lot of places together. I even took her overseas to Okinawa, Japan. If it made her happy I did it, and during our time together she would take trips to Mexico to visit family. And that was a very common thing she did during the weekend even before we dated. The first few years she went less and less so she can spend more time with me and my family and due to her trying to escape her abusive father, but these past 2 years she has been going more and more. Then she tells me that her family made her start drinking alcohol, so she can relax and let loose like them, even though in the past she herself has told me and others that she doesn't like how her alcoholic family parties and drink all the time, but she is partying and drinking heavily now. Breakup? 5-6 weeks ago at the time I'm writing this I was in San Diego for a doctor's visit while she was in Mexico having fun at the beach and family as if nothing was wrong. Then she suddenly texts me that we needed to talk. Of course I was scared of what happened. Did it involve her family? Did her abusive father come back after being kicked out? I was worried about her, asked what was wrong, but all she said was that she will wait until I get back home. When I texted her that I made it home, she got there in no time at all. We were not even done taking the stuff out of the car yet. Then we went to the park that I asked her out. Then she looks at me and says, I think we need to take a break, then proceeds to say everything that I needed to change about myself, that she is the only one that is putting the effort in our relationship, even though I was the one who had a job and has been saving money. The only reason why I've been able to achieve anything was because she was there, and I need to achieve things without her in my life. She made sure to say that she will work on herself too, but when I asked her why she never told me she felt like this before, or what exactly happened to make her feel this way, she never gave me a clear answer, or she brought up something in the past that she already forgave me for. Then when I would give her actual solutions and reasonable actions we can do to fix our relationship, she would just say, I've disconnected from you, over and over again, totally disregarding what I said. Then afterwards she brings up an event that happened while she was in Mex partying. That some friend of the family was making moves on her. She humored him a bit, then he just kisses her on the lips. She tells me that she tried to swing at him, but her cousins stopped her. Then they all told him that she was already in a relationship. He apologized and left. But he came back later and started chatting her up again, and she let him. Then she tells him that they friend each other on Facebook and Instagram and start talking to each other. Then she starts telling me all the nice things he's been telling her and the promises he made to her, like marriage, living together, and how he gave her a single flower. How I haven't been able to do that in 5 years, even though I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on food, gifts, traveling in the past 5 years. I already promised her hand in marriage when we first started dating. Then she said that she even talked to him about breaking up with me. Then she has the audacity to say, it sounds like I cheated on you, huh? And I just look at her and say, because that's what you did, you cheated on me. Then she says, but I'm not I didn't sleep with him. I responded with, cheating is not solely you sleeping with someone else. Cheating is you accept someone else's affection knowing you are already in a relationship. And secondly, being is when you sleep with multiple people, so saying that doesn't help your case. Her response was just, oh. And the car ride home was silent. Post-breakup. A few days after she broke up with me, I texted my friends who were also her friends and my family. I asked them if my ex had told them that she broke up with me. They were surprised and said no, she hasn't told them anything. I was surprised too. I thought she would tell them. One of her best friends was very surprised when she heard. She asked what happened. I told her to ask my ex first to get her side of the story. She did. Then after a while she asked me my side of the story. I told her. Then she tells me that she didn't mention anything about that guy, and that the first thing that my ex said to her was, why did he tell you, and he needs therapy. But the friend laid it out, everything to her. Everything that she said and did was ducked up, blaming everything on him. When you were the one that cheated, and that her story of the events keep changing with more holes and contradictions than the previous story. But during all this my ex told her that she didn't take this decision lightly. That it took her 2 weeks to think it through. Her friend responded, so it took you 2 weeks to look back on your 5-year relationship and say I don't want that anymore. Then she just kept lying and lying, saying nothing happened between them and she won't be dating anytime soon. But a week later someone tells me that they found the dude's Facebook, and the first thing they see is her on a date holding hands in Mexico with the guy. The reason why the date was in Mexico because he doesn't have a green card, so he can't legally cross to the US, so she has to put the effort to see him. When the best friend asks her about it, she laughed it off as if it was nothing, and at the end when the dude walked her back to the line so she could cross back to the States, she kissed him on the lips before she left. Then on July 3rd, since my ex-girlfriend blocked me on all social platforms, someone told me that they made it official that they were dating, and everyone was congratulating them, and saying I hope this relationship will help you cope. First of all, that's not how coping works. You don't. Date someone else while you're in your healing process. That's how you end up in worse relationships, and the one that really stood out was the one that said we won or we did it. Like, what's that supposed to mean? Like, were you hoping for this outcome? Remember, all this happened in 5 weeks, and the healing process for moving on from breakups usually takes months. She got with someone else in weeks. Ending thoughts? Sigh. Anyway, that's my longest story about my cheating ex-girlfriend. Sorry that it's so long. A lot has happened in those few weeks. I still wish for a good life for her and success, but from what heard from her friends on what she is doing now, she is going to suffer for a while. I would like to hear your guys' opinion and thoughts about everything, and some advice on how to move forward. Thanks. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1, relationships can have a lifespan. It sounds like you're reached its end. 5 years and the excitement was gone. She was feeling bored. So she found someone new and exciting to told her what she wants to hear. To keep herself from feeling guilty, she needs to convince herself and her friends that you didn't treat her well. Her betrayal has nothing to do with you. How attentive and generous you've been was quickly forgotten in the affair fog and titillation of a new man. It's time to move on. At some point the affair fog will wear off. She'll notice that the grass was not very green. She might also realize that she has made a mistake leaving you. If she comes back asking you to take her back, I hope you'll have enough self-pride and confidence to say no thank you. Redditor follow-up, she was not feeling bored. That was not the reason for her cheating. She lacks very much honesty and respect. Not only respect for, but in general. She may have fallen out of love. She may felt that she is too young to stay in her first relationship. But then you break up and do not cheat and lie, etc. No, she has a terrible selfish personality, and that's why she cheated. Redditor 2, it is your fault. If you weren't dating a selfish, lying, disloyal woman, she could not have cheated on you. Do you see? You deserve better. Redditor 3, op. It's a sad story. Sadly, it happens very often. There is never a reason to cheat. A person who cheats shows no respect, no empathy, and a huge amount selfishness. And then they feel bad and guilty about what they have done. Then have a need to feel not too bad about themselves. With made-up excuses and reasons they try to achieve that. They shift the blame. Real existing problems are made way bigger as they rarely were. OD thing were brought up again. All what helps to shift the blame is used. That all has the only purpose that the cheater is not to be honest with themselves, to see what a terrible weak and selfish person the cheater truly is. Op, the best thing you can do is to accept what happened and have enough self-respect to move on. Do not let her blame you for thing only she is accountable. Focus on your life, look forward and work on a career. If there is woman that won't join your life, be happy. But if not, then stay on your path. You can look back and think about what you could do better. But I warn you, a woman stays not with you because you give flowers to her or not. You should give her the attention that a partner deserves, but not much more, as the other partner is also willing to give to you. A partnership is exactly that, a partnership. You both need to build a team, you need strengthening each other. When you think about what you could have done wrong, that think more for you was not respectful or not really honest. When you stay at your feet, and go on your own separate, and you don't try to get together again. And you don't care about her as she would be a friend of a friend you know, then there is a good chance that she crawls back. There is a big chance that she will try to reconciliate. But you should think very, very hard if you want to have a relationship with her again. If you consider it, then she had to have done a lot of work on her own, on her personality. Just some nice words and statements like "I learned my lesson," and "I love you so much" blah blah is way not enough.